Hello, and welcome to the Zero Budget Review for Katherine Addison's The Goblin Emperor. Now, this is a fantasy book, technically, and while there is some magic, it's kept very, very small. In fact, I can think of only two examples in the entire book where magic of any kind is used. Now, this is a fish out of water scenario. The book follows the fourth born son of the emperor, called Maya, who's half elf, half goblin. One of the things I found about the book as a whole is that there does not appear to be any humans of any kind, not even as an extinct race. They're just never mentioned. The two predominant races are the goblins and the elves. Now, the emperor is a full-blooded elf, as are his oldest three sons. It is made very clear in the book that the only reason he married a goblin was for political reasons. There was no love of any kind. In this universe, in order to formalize a marriage, you have to consummate it on the wedding night, which is the only time the emperor spends with the goblin empress. And the last thing he expected was for her to get pregnant. Once she has the child, the emperor has her and the baby, his son, not exiled exactly, but put away in some little town out of the way so that he doesn't have to ever look at her again, or him. It is made very clear he has no love for her or his son. The only time Maya ever sees his father again is 8 years later when his mother dies, and that's only because it's expected. He says nothing to him. He doesn't get to meet his older brothers, and once the funeral's over, they go their own way, and he's left with a minder, an elven minder, who again makes it very clear that he doesn't want to be there and that he hates his charge. Now, jump forward another 11 years, and Maya is woken up in the middle of the night by an official imperial courier who addresses him with the name Serenity. The only person who is ever called the Serenity is the emperor. Not your highness, not your majesty, nothing. Every time you talk to the emperor, he's called Serenity. So obviously Maya's a little bit confused by this because he's not the emperor. Turns out that the emperor and all three of his oldest sons were on an airship which accidentally crashed, killing all them, the crew, and every other passenger. The only other eligible person to become emperor is Maya. So he's gone from having very basic education about the emperor, very basic etiquette training for the imperial court, which he's never been to, by the way, and suddenly he's thrust into everything. He's now considered the leader of the Elven kingdom, and he has to deal with that. Now again, fish out of water scenario, and I loved it. That kind of book. Always find it interesting to see how people deal with these brand new circumstances and situations. And this book is just fantastic. I absolutely loved this book from start to finish. Seeing how Maya deals with his newfound power and how he struggles not to abuse it was just brilliant. It was very well done. It's not a spoiler for me to tell you, I don't think, that the accident that killed the emperor and all three of his oldest sons was not an accident. It was sabotage. It was murder. And this is, again, explained very early on in the book, and then he has to deal with that to find out who did the killing. Are they a threat to him and his new imperial reign? The way Maya deals with the situation is just again just really, really good, and it makes a good kind of lens for us as the reader to follow how things are going on, in the sense that as he's learning things, we're learning things. As he's getting things explained to him, it's an explanation for us, the reader, as well. A lot of the other nobles in this universe are resentful of Maya They want a pure-blooded elf, not some hybrid. They think of goblins as barbarians, as unintelligent, lower class, and the idea that the half goblin is now the emperor of all the elven people is something that they are really not happy with. One of the themes that's also explored in the book is that of gender inequality. In this world, women, especially noble women, higher class women, are only good for one thing: having babies. If you can't have a baby, if you are not capable of having children, or you are past childbearing age, then you're pretty much considered worthless. The emperor's third wife was barren, and again, like his fourth goblin wife, she was relegated to some backwater area to be kept out of the way. This is addressed really well in the book again. Maya has her brought back, and he makes a concerted effort to deal with women as something other than just breeding stock, and it does raise a few eyebrows with the other nobles as well. He asks many of the women, "What do you want to do?" And he faces a lot of stiff competition in this regard, including from some of the women themselves. As the emperor becomes more and more confident in his abilities and his knowledge, he begins to take on more progressive and informed stances through the politics of this world. And again, I cannot continue to say this, cannot stop saying this. It is just a really good book. I had a lot of fun reading it, and I'm hoping she does more in this world. You can read this book as a pure standalone. As far as I'm aware, there was no real cliffhanger of any kind. Right. I'll stop gushing over this now and just bring up the only real negative, or two negatives, I'll say. The first one, which is never addressed in the book, is why was the emperor allowed to go onto an airship with all three of his sons? Surely someone should have said, maybe keep some of your kids off just in case the airship goes down. I thought that was the first thought that came to my head when I read the story synopsis at the back. The second one, which kind of put me off a little bit, was the naming conventions. Like we have Mr. and Mrs. and Miss, they have different ways of describing people depending on whether you're talking to a man, whether you're talking to a woman, is the woman married or she's single. Also, is the person you're speaking to a nobleman or a noble woman? Is the noble woman single or married? So you've got different ways of referring to people depending on their station and their gender. Children under the age of 13 have another name for them to describe them. So there's quite a lot of prefixes to people's names. And the surnames are again described differently whether you're speaking to the husband or the wife. Now, for the most part, I'm talking about 90%, I was able to muddle through it because of the context of the paragraph or the sentence. I was able to figure it out. It was only when I finished reading the book that I realized that after the book ends proper, there's a naming convention section which explains this means this, that means that, which I wish I read before starting the book proper. And then after that, there's an appendix, which I did refer to a couple of times because I wasn't sure who this character was or that character was. But those are my only two real gripes. It's not that bad to get into with the naming conventions. It's pretty good. Just keep your head on. Yeah, so overall, I absolutely thoroughly recommend The Goblin Emperor by Katherine Addison. It's a fun book. Thank you.